And y'all already know what time it is. It's time for us to get our morning reading in. I know y'all thought I wasn't gonna come on because it's a little bit later than normal, but we got a little slight delay this morning because I didn't have a morning meeting. And so, because I didn't have a meeting this morning, sorry about that. Because I didn't have a meeting this morning, I took a few extra minutes for myself this morning. So, well, not really for myself because I was still doing some work. But let me go ahead and pull up the screens that I need to pull up. Lord have mercy. You ever call tech support because your internet running slow? You have the fastest internet and it's running slow, and then they send a technician out and they tell you your computer too old. Peace, change views. They said you may have the fastest internet package, but your computer cannot handle the speed. Woo! I was so upset because at this point we might as well change our internet speed if my computer can't get to the speed that we paying for. So for whatever reason, let me see. Do I already have a tab up? I'm just pulling up my little Facebook because some of y'all be messaging me in the comments on Facebook, and I want to be able to speak to you all too. Peace, change views. Peace, Ralph Valkin or Valkin. Um, Thank you for tuning in, but we're about to go ahead and get started. So, if you are someone that is not already on my text list and you would like to get some motivation and notification when I go live, go ahead and text Healthy Hue, all caps, no space, to 77948. Hey, I am Ramadan. Thank you for tuning in. He is a regular. Um, so text a healthy hue, all caps, no space, to 77948. And if you have been joining me for a while, and you appreciate these lives, go ahead and share this out to a couple people so that they can hear this part of the chapter, right? And I had added a little bit, why, oh, look at that. Let me change my name real quick because my name is incorrect, y'all. We ain't talking about that today. What we are talking about is why God is essential in married life. And I'm gonna put a little extra on it, even if you're single. So we're gonna change that. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna just tell y'all to change verses because they're not trying to let me change it. There we go. So there's the change. Peace, family. Thank you for tuning in. So y'all know the schedule, right? So we're going to go ahead. Today we are reading Real Love by Ava Muhammad, and as always, we're going to go ahead and get the commentary out of the way. I mean, I'm sorry, the reading out of the way, and then do the commentary last because I know and understand everybody don't really care for my commentary. They just want to get the information from Minister Ava and move on about their day. So that's what we're going to do today. If you have not heard the previous chapters, go ahead and go to my YouTube. Go ahead and go to sistervictoriax.com and click the YouTube icon, and then you'll be able to see all of the videos that I have read and added my commentary to Minister Ava's book. Why is Jake Taylor calling me and I'm live? Sir, I'm live. What do you need? Yep. Okay. Can y'all still see me on Instagram? Because I know my face, I mean my is probably paused. Press a one if y'all can still hear me. Hey, Sister Yashika. But so this is chapter 17, right? And this is part two. It's actually part three. So maybe I skipped the other parts where she put that. But this is part three, the spiritual nature of marriage. So if you have not, like I said, listened to the other chapters, go to the YouTube Sister Victoria X. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you haven't followed me on Instagram, go ahead and follow your girl, Sister Victoria X. So Real Love by Ava Muhammad, part three of the book, which is the spiritual nature of marriage. And then the chapter title is Why God is Essential to Married Life. Okay. Walaikum salam. Does it make a real difference in the relationship between a man and a woman whether Allah God is at the center of their lives? Harmony is a word meaning a just adaptation of parts to each other. When the polar opposites, male and female, try to live together in one house, we have the clash of the titans. Harmony is an ambitious goal. How many of us can easily adjust to a whole other person? Courtship and marriage fascinate me because they are so unalike. There is romance, flattery, flowers, diamond rings, candlelight dinners, bridal marriages, weddings, receptions, honeymoons. All of a sudden, you live together and you have to go home together. It is time for the adjustment. Help is definitely needed. God is the author of marriage, and He alone has the power to make it work. But He will not make it work unless that couple has Him at the center of their hearts and minds and souls. Minister Farrakhan has taught us that because of the ego, we feel pain when we are not the center of attention. Even as we grow beyond selfishness, we are not completely selfless either. And we certainly are not blind to each other's faults. So the only way to harmony is through devotion to the one who will never disappoint us, never fail us, and who has the power to inspire us to undergo the pain of adjustment. You will have to learn to love by allowing it to grow. You need allow God to do the necessary things, such as forgetting injuries instantly and not allowing bitterness to cling to you. Looking at forgiveness as a privilege and not punishment. These difficulties, these are difficulties that are attached to your invaluable marriage that will become somewhat easier over a period of time. The love that Allah God has for us is perfect, so it can correct all wrongs. We need this because the wrong we commit is frequent. We say the wrong thing. We need this because the wrong we commit is frequent. We say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, think the wrong thing. But His perfect love can heal psychological injuries and restore emotional health. It can erase mistakes. Relationships all seem to have some problem with the past, and His perfect love can even transmute the darkness of the past into light. You and I are commanded to love thy neighbor as thyself. What does loving your neighbor as yourself require? It means love him or her as though he or she were actually you. There is a diving self, the essential of God within each of us, and it is that self which must manifest and love the essence of God in the neighbor. If you are to do all this for a neighbor, what about the one you have chosen to live with the rest of your life? Why is God essential? Because without His perfect love, we cannot even strive for perfection, so the marriage has no worthy goal to attain. Perfect love rises above ego, pride, falsehood, discord, fear, and confusion. It goes beyond weaknesses and defects, leaving them behind without a thought. When you love God, you can exalt your spouse, whom God created from His love. Your mind can become perfectly balanced and immune to insanity. Real love is God's gift of life. In Study Guide 16, The Law of God, we are directed to this scripture. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the laws and the prophets. If you love God with all your heart, what is left for your partner? Some of the essence of God is in your spouse, so you cannot love God without loving your spouse. The heart is a divinely constructed instrument into which God can speak to you and from which He can hear your thoughts. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Then add to the love of your heart all the love of your soul, which includes every atom of your body and your self accusing spirit. This will automatically train every cell and fiber of your being to hold light and vitality. It will prove to you by the quality of your health that every organ of your body was created spiritually first and has a spiritual as well as physical function to perform. As the organs are awakened to their true spiritual function, the body will not only become more refined and beautiful, it will move toward perfection as it is lifted into a higher vibration existence. Now add all the love of your mind, which means bringing this powerful creative energy into this plane of existence, where it becomes a part of everyday living and becomes the dominant force in your home and in your marriage. Every person in your sphere of influence will be surrounded and enfolded in love. There is another step we have to take in order to love Him with all the mind. As you know, the mind consists of conscious and subconscious realm. You have to direct, as you know, the mind consists of the conscious and the subconscious realm. You have to direct some of that mental love deep into that ocean where the capacity for deception and rebellion against God exists. This is where all the worry and confusion and evil is born. Open this part of yourself up to His love, and He will heal your hurts and forgive your sins and even blot out memory of them. Finally, love Him with all your strength. This is an awesome experience if you notice. If you do any sort of self-examination, when you become angry, you flew into a rage with all your strength. No one can talk to you. You are oblivious to everyone and everything but the object of your hate. The ego umps out life a pit bull, looking for somebody to bite into. It is like a poisonous snake hissing and spewing venom. I'll deal with you and you such and such. On the other hand, when we claim to love God, its expression is weak and shaky with no backup. We just sit and wait for it to produce some results. We need to put the same energy to show our love as we do to show our wrath. Love is power in and of itself. So if you put your unique energy into it, it will yield amazing results. It will be felt instantly, even though the visible results may take a while. But if you persist, not only will your marriage transform, you will part waters and the whole world will let you pass. Marriage, the union of male and female, is the path to the highest attainment we can achieve, second only to the process of becoming one with Allah God. Therefore, it can only be reached as we submit our will to His will. To love Him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength empowers us to overcome the defects that impede our efforts to unite. It is not necessary to become obsessed with being a channel of love. You are the product of love in the first place. Just let love vibrate within you and be conscious enough to keep it in motion. You accomplish this through prayer, communication with your Creator. Prayer enables you to keep your thoughts and feelings united. At the high point of that unity is the self accusing spirit, where all power is generated. This is the point of atonement, the reconciliation between God and man. Atonement is a process that enables us to make amends for our errors and failings. It is also a state of being in which we exemplify His attributes and therefore become one with Him. The term atonement combines the ancient phrase at one-ment, meaning in unity. You get there by training, not straining. O people, keep your duty to your Lord, who created you from a single being and created its mate of the same kind, and spread from these too many men and women, and keep your duty to Allah, by whom you demand one of another your rights, and two, the ties of relationships. Surely Allah is ever a watcher over you. Holy Quran 4:1. Marriage is a covenant, a pledge or compact between two people whose obligation to one another emanates from the duty each one has to allow God, who is always watching. To the degree we are derelict in our duty to Him, we suffer in our relationship to the same degree. In the scriptures, a covenant has always been considered a pledge of sacred power, absolutely binding, a seal of the highest integrity. Marriage is such a covenant. In the Bible and the Holy Quran, we see Allah God make various covenants with man, such as the pledge of the rainbow, where He promised He would not destroy the earth again by water. Every such promise requires humanity to keep its side of the agreement. His word cannot fail. So if His promise is not fulfilled, it is only because we have failed to comply with the stipulations. It is His promise that everyone who looks for Him shall find Him. Seek me early, and ye shall find me. Seek me diligently, and ye shall find me. Everyone who seeks finds, and he who asks receives, and he who knocks shall have it open unto him. Draw near unto me, and I will draw near unto you. Abide in me, and I will abide in you. Clearly, we can find God if we learn to silence the noisy, whining, self centered ego and listen to the quiet voice of the self accusing spirit. Listen with the inner ear to that voice, which the minister calls a messenger of God within us. Just as we have a third eye, we have a third ear that allows us to listen to that guarding voice of Allah God right within our own soul, which leads us to the full knowledge of Him. The search for God is not a journey into far and distant spheres or places. It has to be made right within self. Once we attain this level of being, we understand what happiness is, the state of peace that remains deep within, even in the most turbulent situations. This state of being becomes the foundation for our marriage, and through our marriage, we manifest our divine power. The creative force that is love, is forever seeking to ease the tension that life in this dimension has imposed upon us. It desires to return it to its original state of rest. For you and I, that is the inner state of peace that can only be attained through the knowledge of God and the light of understanding. So that actually concludes the entire Real Love book by Dr. Ava Muhammad. Okay. And so, in true fashion, we're going to move into the commentary. If you found any value in this video thus far, go ahead and share this out to some people that you think might need this. And if you'd like to get notifications of when I go live, text Healthy Hue, all caps, no space, to 77948. And so I want to start at the very end again this time, where she says, this state of being becomes the foundation of our marriage. And through our marriage, we manifest our divine power. And it makes me think about um, when in the teachings, when we are taught that marriage is half of our faith. And then she starts talking about when we manifest, when we become, when this state becomes the foundation of our marriage, and through our marriage, we manifest our divine power. Um, and so literally this is giving us the cheat code to tapping into our divine power. Because if we are married, right? If we are married, and I have something else for the single people. If we are married, then we can apply these things, achieve this level or state of happiness, which is a state of peace, in order to be able to tap into our divine power, right? And some of us only think about marriage in the concept of male and female relationships, right? When in actuality, there's a certain level of consideration with oneself. Are you married to yourself? Do you even treat yourself kindly? There, this goes back to what I said before when we talk about the way that we treat and the way that we handle ourselves. There are certain things, there are things that we say to ourselves that if someone else was to say those same things to ourselves, we would have a whole problem, probably say some things we never would have otherwise said, and probably get into some physical altercations, because that's just how bad we talk to ourselves. And we don't think or consider that although this is talking about marriage with someone else, there's a certain level of marriage and commitment that we have to have with ourselves before we even get into a marriage, and for that marriage to be successful. And so the next thing she talks about is clearly we can find God if we learn to listen, if we learn to silence the noisy, whining, self centered ego and listen to the quiet voice of self accusing spirit. If you all were with me a couple days ago, right, and we had this chapter called, let me see, what is that chapter called? It was chapter 14 when we were talking about the benefits of being alone. This goes right back into that, right? When we're talking about spending time with ourselves, spending time with Allah God, so that when He speaks, we're able to identify His voice, right? There are certain things that someone could say that my husband told me that my husband told them to tell me, and I just know off top, my husband would never say that, so I don't know why you lying. And there's some things that someone can say that my husband said, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, that's for sure. He for sure said that, right? But sometimes we haven't spent enough time with ourselves and Allah God that we can't differentiate between what message He could have sent and what message He could not have sent, because we haven't spent enough time to be able to identify His language, to identify His characteristics, to identify the different trials that He's known to put people through. And so that's I'm glad that she said that, because that self-accusing spirit is, it determines how tapped in you really are with Allah God, right? Because there was a certain point in time where I did not trust my intuition, which I believe is a self-accusing spirit. There was a time where I did not believe my intuition, so I would find myself in situations and places and having conversations that, had I listened to my self-accusing spirit, aka my inner God, I would have never been in those situations. I would have never had those conversations, and I would have been further along because of it. But because I consciously made the decision to, what did it say? Kill the messenger within. Is that what that said? Kill the God within me and go against it. I had to suffer the consequences of that. And there are times where, and doing that so often, I learned that, okay, I'm gonna just listen to this self-accusing spirit. I'm gonna listen to my intuition. I'm gonna just listen to this moving forward. And ever since I started listening to what was inside me, it's easier for me to make a lot more decisions. Hey, Muham, thank you for tuning in. Rebuild or claim. I know I just butchered your name, but thank you for tuning in. But ever since I make decisions within my self-accusing spirit, on the other end, walaikum salam, on the other end, I can see why I was led to make that decision. And the other part too is, it don't always end how I pictured it ending, but I never have any regrets. You know why? Because I did exactly what it was meant for me to do. The only time we have regrets is when, one, we don't listen to our self-accusing spirit, or two, we allow other people to manipulate us into making decisions that we know we had no business making in the first place. So let me go ahead and do the run through. Sister Yashika, Daniel 4X, always in the building. The People's Electrician, Ray and Dina. Thank you all for tuning in. You're greatly appreciated. The Hair Chemist. Greetings, different results. Let me see. Truly, Davida, correct. Being married offers a certain level of peace too. That's true. Being married does offer a certain level of peace and security that that just from experience and from other people's comments and stuff, that the single person doesn't have. But I do want to stress that, one, marriage is not the only way to get that kind of peace. When you're married, when you're learning to be married to yourself and learning to build your relationship with Allah God, right? Because there's a certain level and comfort in knowing that Allah has you. But a lot of the times we have from fear of things, because we haven't built the relationship and foundation in Allah. So it's easy for us to be manipulated by fear. Yes, ma'am. Self-examination is so important. Yes, it is. Because who know us better than us? Don't nobody. outside of Allah. Don't nobody be in our thoughts. Don't nobody be in our feelings. People can speculate, right? But who knows us better than us? So let me go. I'm gonna go back to the beginning and we're gonna get into this commentary. So she said it is time for the adjustment. Help is definitely needed. God is the author of marriage and he alone has the power to make it work. But he will not make it work unless the couple has him at the center of their hearts and minds and souls. Some of us have exited relationships that on the other end, on hindsight, we know like, dang, that could have really worked. That could have really worked. It didn't have to go down like that. But because we didn't make Allah the center of that relationship, it couldn't have worked because our focus was elsewhere. That includes friendships too. Like in hindsight, I know some friendships that could have worked, but our relationship and our friendship wasn't even built in Allah or around Allah. We didn't even have conversations about God. So how could it have worked when we're both relying on our limited ability to understand the human mind and human action? And so, if we truly desire for our marriages to work, both to external people and our relationships with ourselves, because we do have a lot within us, and sometimes we have a hard time understanding ourselves. But if we learn to understand the one who created us, then understanding ourselves will naturally become easier. So, if we ever find ourselves in a position where we're like, I don't understand why this is not working, reconsider your foundation. And then it goes on to say, looking at forgiveness as a privilege and not a punishment. These are difficulties that are attached to your invaluable marriage that will become somewhat easier over a period of time. For some reason, when we decide to forgive people in the wrong time and in the wrong season, it definitely feels like punishment. It feels like you got this big old horse pill that you had to swallow. But on the other side of true forgiveness is relief. On the other side of true forgiveness, you realize the privilege that it is to be able to forgive someone, not just for them, but sometimes it is for them because some people will hold on to something that they did to you that you may have a grudge against them. And sometimes they need to know that you forgive them to be able to start working on the parts that they took place in, the parts of the issue that they can now hold themselves accountable for, right? Because it was easier when you were a part of the equation and they could put some stuff off on you and they could be like, well, she's still mad. But once you take their out away and you forgive them, now they're forced to face the other side. Okay, they done forgave me, so why am I still uptight about this? And now they can reflect and self-check themselves. Yes, I recently had to swallow one for myself. It hurts. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But the truth of the matter is, like, once it settles and once it passes, you'll realize that it was the best thing for you. And like they say, forgiveness is not for the other person, it is for you. True forgiveness, not the fake forgiveness when we be just telling people, I forgive you, and then bring it up every 2 days. Like, true forgiveness is for you. Lift that weight off. Um, If you are to do all of this for a neighbor, what about the one you have chosen to live with the rest to live with for the rest of your life? Um, why is God essential? Because without his perfect love, we cannot even strive for perfection. So the marriage has no worthy goal to attain, right? So when we start looking at and we start studying Allah God, then we'll see what perfection looks like. A lot of us be talking about, yeah, we strive for perfection. We striving for this, but we haven't done the research to know what this looks like. And that's the same way in business. We talk about we striving to make $1,000 a month in business, but we not studying the people that have done that. What are they doing? What action steps did they take? The same thing for this. In our relationships, we cannot accurately and wholeheartedly believe that we are striving for perfection if we have not studied the one that has mastered perfection. His actions literally showing you the way. But in our minds, and this is the same thing when we're defining words, we have words that we use on a regular, right? And because we use them on a regular, we kind of sometimes create our own definitions to words. And then years later, we're like, okay, sometimes we find ourselves looking up the word and it's like, whoa, that is not what, yeah, that's not what I've been thinking it was all this time. And so perfection in our minds may look a certain way, but he's the actuality of it. So not why not study the reality of it and then work towards that by using the tools that are given to us. Let me see. We need to put the same energy to show our love as we do to show our wrath. Isn't that the truth? Lord have mercy, all that energy that we use to display anger, all that energy that we use to display hate. Man, your teaching today. Walaikum salam, Sister Amira. Thank you for tuning in. Um, like we put so much energy into the negative things, right? It's so much easier to dive into the negative stuff because don't nobody be trying to hold you accountable to the negative stuff. Y'all excuse my husband in the back, please. Can you close the bathroom door? um um because nobody be trying to hold us accountable to the negative stuff. And that's why it's very important that our circle be airtight. We got to stop allowing these people that's afraid to hold us accountable into our circle. We have to stop allowing these people that's afraid to speak freely in our circle. Those yes men have got to go. Because how can you say that you're striving for excellence if the people around you are too scared or are too fake to tell you the truth? Especially when you're growing and building something that's going to be big, it's a lot of people that's going to try to attach themselves to your vision so that they can push it off in the market like it was theirs. So if you don't have no people in your circle, if you need, it's time to evaluate, right? How many people do you consider close to you and how many times have they checked you when you knew that you was wrong? I got a sister to this day, best friend. She ain't got no problem checking me. And because we know how each other are, we check each other in the best of manners. Some of y'all is rude and confuse it for being real. You could tell somebody the truth and not have to cut them down. You could tell somebody the truth without them having to feel like trash afterwards. Everyone has a communication language. Some people you can be raw with. Some people need you to be raw with them. Other people need you to be able to tell them what they're doing wrong without vilifying them. So I ask that y'all share this out to some people. If y'all got some value out of this video, we're gonna wrap it up there. I thank you all for tuning in as always. If you would like to get notifications of when I go live, text Healthy Hue, all caps, no space, to 77948. And y'all, let me tell y'all, this is a big accomplishment for me. Do y'all see this book? Real Love by Ava Muhammad. Because of y'all, this is the first book that I have completely finished in I don't even know, years for sure. Like even small little books, maybe 50 pages. I don't know how many books, even 50 pages, I don't finish reading them for whatever reason. I'll start it and not finish it. And I know that, I always say that you don't have to finish a book, just go in there and get what you need. But I don't know why this has really been a big thing for me, not finishing books. So I thank you all for staying with me on this journey. I done finished my first book in however long, and y'all have been right here with me. And I enjoy this read, and I'm probably gonna read it again. Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Victoria. And I'm trying to figure out because it's 2 more days in this week, so I'm trying to. Is it 2 more days, y'all? It's Thursday. One more day in this week. So I'm trying to figure out what book we gonna read next. But I thank y'all for staying with me on this journey. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope y'all come back a little bit later to see the live that I'm gonna have later. I ain't gonna tell y'all the topic because it might switch between now and then. But talk to you soon. Peace, family. Mm-mm.